Hi everyone, so welcome back to the second vlog of the series Entrepreneurship Wannabe. And I'm actually filming this vlog right now on the first day of Lunar New Year. So happy Lunar New Year to everybody, and let's dive in our topic for today, which is market research. So continue with the topic of entrepreneurship. There are actually three types of entrepreneurship if you didn't know. The first type we have corporate entrepreneurship. The second is the civic entrepreneurship. And the third, also my favorite, is the social entrepreneurship. So you may be wondering what each type is and the difference between them. So let's start with our very first type, which is the corporate entrepreneurship. Corporate entrepreneurship is actually the creation of a new business, a product, or a new service from inside an organization to generate new revenue growth through entrepreneurial action. So a very classic and also interesting example of this type of entrepreneurship is the Google's 20% time policy. So it is actually a very well-known example of corporate entrepreneurship. This policy of Google allows their employees to dedicate 20% of their work time to pursue their innovative projects. So I really wish that many companies start doing this more because it allows their employees a lot of time for personal growth and development and a lot of time for creativity stimulation as well. About the second type, which is the civic entrepreneurship, it is actually driven by the public interest and it seeks to create new ways of building social capital or harnessing existing ideas, methods, technologies in the service of collective goals. It's a bit complicated by the definition of Google, but you can understand it more simply as something that the public try to create so that it can make their lives easier in some way. So this is usually the product or the innovation of common citizens. So for example, I have this story about two college students. Their names are Franziska Trotman and Max Stay. I hope I didn't butcher their name, but these two students, they founded one of Louisiana's only glass recycling companies. And basically, what this company is doing is that they turn glass into sand and they use it for coastal restoration. So it is such an ingenious idea for such a great campaign for the environment. And finally, we come to my favorite type of entrepreneurship, which is social entrepreneurship. So what is it? It is actually a very new and innovative business venture that influence change. So a social entrepreneur, they usually have a very specific cause that they care about, and they develop a business model that is focused on making a positive impact. And the main goal of their business model is usually to create lasting social change. So based on the definition, you can also learn that social entrepreneurship can be nonprofit, for-profit, or a sort of hybrid business. Okay, so when I give you an example of a social entrepreneurship, I actually really want to share with you my own personal project. It is called Aspira. So when I explain to you about my personal project, I hope that it could give you a further understanding on an example of a social entrepreneurship model. It is actually an educational and vocational establishment that specializes in hospitality management. So basically, you can imagine that there would be a hotel and a school next to each other, and they serve two purposes. The first one is receiving tourists to generate revenue, and the second one is recruiting students and training them so that later on the students can actually work and be employed in that very same hotel. And as you can see, my dream business model, it is a very multifunction one. The reason for this is because it can serve a variety of purposes like teaching, training, and hotel operation. And the reason why I want to combine these into one rather than just building one separate commercial identity is that I think diversified business can earn a higher revenue and have lower risk. And the ingenious aspect of this model is that we source and generate our revenue from the guests that we accommodate. We actually do not charge the students so that they can receive a completely free educational curriculum. So that is what I am most passionate about in my business model. And it is, even though it provides free educational and vocational training, it is still sustainable because, as I have mentioned, the revenue that we earn from hotel operations will be reinvested into the maintenance of facilities, and also some portions of the profit is invested into business expansion or even scholarships for the student. But with such an ambitious model and somehow seems like a very unfeasible one, what should we do next, for example, to kind of like understand whether our business model is actually appealing to the general public or not, or whether there is a market demand for it? Therefore, I have created a special template for you, another template that you can use to do your market research. So there are a few criteria that I have selected out in order to do a good and a decent market research. The first criteria you need to have is the market size, the growth potential. The next one is the market trend, customer profile, competitors, and finally, your evaluation of your own business model. So about the market size of your business model, what should you be thinking about? So for those of you who don't know, market size refers to the maximum total number of sales or customers your business can see or sell. And this is often measured over the course of a year. So therefore, it is very helpful to know the potential market size before you launch your new product or your line of business. So what about for like a completely new kind of product category or a new kind of service that has never existed in the market before? Then what should you really do in this case? For example, what do I do with my own business model that has never actually existed before? In that case, I would have to think more about the potential new market, and I have to estimate the new market size based on the anticipated demand. Because I'm currently looking at the national market first, so I would be searching for the market size in Vietnam. So when I do my Google research, I learned that the market size in the hospitality industry is very promising. In Vietnam, the revenue in the hotel market is projected to be around $1.76 billion in 2024. And it is projected to grow up to $2.06 billion by 2028. So as you can see, the market size for the hospitality industry in Vietnam is expanding very large, and you can estimate how big the revenue will be in the future. So based on this information that I found online, I can then sort of gauge whether my business model actually have the opportunity to earn some portion of that revenue. So the bigger the market size is, the more promising it is for your business model. And next, we have to think about our growth potential as well. So in my case, I think that my business model has a pretty good potential for growth because the employment support towards the underprivileged and the poor individuals, who are my main targeted audience, is often small scale and scarce. So with the creation of the Aspera business model, the underprivileged group now can receive better employment support because it is much more long-term, meaningful, and self-sustainable. Another trend that I noticed is how higher education is now focusing on the skill-first approach. So it is not just about theory anymore, but it's people put a lot of emphasis on real-life skill set and training. That is why the Aspera business model not only teach lessons or train students inside the classroom, but they also give them an environment, a real-life hotel setting for them to practice what they learn and apply all the skills that they are taught in class. And another trend is that the skill development will still continue in the workplace long after formal education ends. So this is a trend that is starting to happen everywhere, and with the creation of the Aspera model, it will definitely help the students, even though after they have graduated from that establishment, they can still continue their lifelong learning process because they are now learning by experience, not by books or by curriculums anymore. And the third criteria is market trends. So it may somehow a little bit overlapping with the growth potential, but it's also crucial for you to assess whether the trends that are happening in the market will be in favor for your business model. So the first market trend that I noticed is the workforce empowerment. So how do we empower our employees and our staff so that they can be more productive and they can feel inspired to work for the company? And another thing is the lifelong learning trend that I have explained previously. And then also the sustainability factor. It could be about environmental sustainability, or it could be self-sustainability or self-sustaining model. And lastly is the high level of corporate social responsibility. The government and also the customers are now putting a really big emphasis on whether a company is socially responsible or not. It can be socially responsible in terms of protecting the environment or in terms of helping a certain group in the community. So it is very useful for the company to have some form of corporate social responsibility, and they commit to it through their actions. The next thing is the customer profile. So the customer profile here is that you need to identify who your customer is. Who are you helping with your business model, or any other stakeholder that is involved as your customer. So with my multifunction business model, I would actually have two customer profile, but I just managed to write one in my template, but I will explain the second one. So the first customer profile that I have is the target audience that I am helping. So they would be the underprivileged group, particularly the disabled and the poor individuals who lack access to basic education, training, and employment. And the second group would be the target audience that I'm serving. They would be the people who generate revenue for my model. And they are the tourists who come to Aspera for relaxation, entertainment, and for accommodation. And after I have identified my customer profile, I also need to think about my competitors. So because my model is something that is new and has never existed before, I have done my own research, and I would choose the competitors that I think are somehow similar in terms of business model or operating mechanism. So the direct competitors that I have selected are Universidad de Sao Paulo and Hebron University of Applied Sciences. They have one similarity with my business model, which is they also provide free hospitality training program and teaching program. And about the indirect competitors, I think that other social enterprises and vocational training centers could be one of my competitors. And lastly, the higher education establishment, the ones that are like other universities that specialize in hospitality management, they also provide the same kind of training curriculum, so they could also be a potential competitor. And lastly, I would have an evaluation. This evaluation is more like a personal opinion or like an objective judgment of my own business model. And I think that this model, even though it is not yet well exploited, but it has great potential for development. And because it addressed the current needs for high quality vocational training, education, and employment in the society. And it's also targeting a group that actually is otherwise very discriminated in the society. So I would see that if this model is actually executed and scale up in some level, it has very promising potential for growth. So it's actually the end of my vlog today. I think it's a little bit more complicated than the template that I gave you in my first vlog, but I hope that you had some good key takeaways, and I wish you all the best in the new year. See you in my third vlog.